What's up, Epic Games? What's up, community? Shout out to all my Nolly War cows out there. My name's Bobo the Brave, and let's talk about the sniper rifle. So, I was thinking about the sniper rifle being a projectile weapon, and I don't want to be too quick to reject ideas. I think that's maybe something we're not doing so great about on the forums, is shooting ideas down before we really get a chance to flesh them out. So, I have played the pre-alpha a fair amount, and I have used the sniper rifle a fair amount. I've seen a lot of discussion on the community about should the sniper rifle be hit scan, should it be projectile. It doesn't have to be hit scan just because it's historically been hit scan, but I want to talk about just some thoughts that have occurred to me about the challenges of it being projectile and what that might mean for the weapon. So one argument that's been made on the community is that with the sniper rifle having a very brief lag between when you fire and when it hits the target, if you're dealing with a problem of network latency as well, you're trying to compensate for lag on top of lag, which makes it difficult to hit your target. Some of the problems that I've been having with the sniper rifle might not necessarily be because it's a projectile. It could be because the mouse moving accuracy, it doesn't really feel snappy yet. It could be network latency with the servers that we've been using, or it could be my own inability to aim, but it could never be that. When I was thinking about the sniper rifle the other night, and this sometimes heated discussion between whether it should be projectile or hit scan, I was thinking about, okay, what is a projectile weapon? What is a hit scan weapon? What differentiates them, and why should a weapon be one or the other? So I'm going to throw up this visual on screen that kind of popped into my head when I was thinking about these weapons. And way over here on one side, you've got projectile weapons, so slow-moving projectiles. And then on the other end of the spectrum, you've got hit scan. The moment you press the trigger, it should, or the moment you click your mouse, it should hit your target. So way over on the farthest end of the spectrum with projectiles, you've got the Redeemer, where it's just very slow moving, very easy to shoot down. And then maybe after that, you've got rockets, flak, goo. They move a little bit faster. You can actually dodge out of the way if you're a moderate distance away from someone. Then over on the hit scan side, you've got shock rifle primary and historically sniper rifle, and you've got minigun as well. So these hit immediately, and then you have stuff that kind of falls in between, which is maybe, for example, the link gun primary, where you're shooting these bursts. They're projectiles. They're a little bit faster moving. And then you've got maybe the Stinger secondary, which those crystals, which shoot out at kind of a moderate rate of speed. The thing that makes link gun primary and minigun secondary very useful is they have a very quick rate of fire. So even though you don't have splash damage and it is a projectile weapon, you can spam a full hallway of link gun primary, and you're probably going to hit your enemy part of the time. I don't know about you, but I find the link gun primary and the Stinger secondary kind of hard to use effectively and accurately. So it's usually only when someone is like right in my face that I can hit them effectively with those weapons. My friend Mechik loves the Stinger secondary, but for most of us, it's maybe not the best weapon. We have a hard time using it, and so it ends up being kind of spam. So you'll be running down a hallway trying to get away from someone, and you're using the link primary to try to whittle them down, or the Stinger secondary. So it seems that these weapons that are moving closer to hit scan but haven't quite reached there are not as effective. But there's another quality that's really important about these middle ground ones versus hit scan over on one side and projectile weapons on the other, which is splash damage. I think the reason that link primary and Stinger secondary are difficult to use is because they're a pinpoint weapon, more or less, but they don't have any splash damage to compensate for the time it takes for them to move from your gun to your target. Unlike rockets or flak, where it's not as important if there's lag because you don't have to hit them dead on. You're trying to hit the general area where they are, and splash damage is going to hurt them. So ideally you want to hit them, but it's still an effective weapon because there's so many tactics you can use with splash damage to kill them. Versus Hitscan, I mean, you can hit right next to their head, but if it's not on them, it doesn't count as a hit. Duh, we all know that. So looking at this graph, there's this final section which I call the Gulf of Broken Dreams. This Gulf of Broken Dreams is kind of like if you're on a server and you have a ping of 120 and you're just not hitting people and their ping is much faster than yours, and it's just disappointing and frustrating because it's not you that's necessarily missing, it's you feel like you should be hitting them but you aren't, unless it's a zero ping server, but let's just pretend that it's not. So along with this category of broken dreams is the I feel like the sniper rifle projectile falls into this category. It's right next to a hit scan weapon. It's like the projectile is so fast that it feels like a hit scan weapon, but it's not. It's just right there down in the Gulf of Broken Dreams because it feels like lag. And I think the reason it feels like lag rather than projectile travel time is because it's so fast, but it's just a hair off from being a hit scan weapon. Unlike rockets or flak, where you can dodge it. You can see it coming. You can dodge it if it's coming at you, or if you're firing, you can compensate in a meaningful way to hit them. You can kind of extrapolate the direction they're going and say, oh, they're going to be here by the time the rocket reaches, and fire where they're going to be rather than where they are. Versus with sniper, where it's like, how do you compensate when it's just such a slight lag? Especially when that lag changes with the difference, and it's so small, you don't know how to compensate whether they're 15 feet from you or 50 feet from you. The difficulty with sniper rifle as it is now is you have somewhat of the delay of a projectile weapon, which makes you want to lead your shot, but you don't have that safety net of splash damage, and you don't have the utility of a high rate of fire. So it ends up making the weapon just feel very ineffective. It doesn't necessarily have to be distinctly different from shock primary. That said, I'm open to new possibilities. I'm not really emotionally invested in it having to be a certain way. I think discussion and challenges are good. But right now, I'm still in the camp that sniper rifle should be hit scan. Not because it has been historically, but because of these things that I discussed. So I would love to hear your opinion on what I just talked about. And please post comments and challenge me, and I'm sure some of you will correct me. And let's have a lively discussion. Thanks.